Hello there. I wanted to do a video about some advice to new moms. I asked in a moms group that I'm a part of that has some really awesome ladies in it, like what was the one thing that you wish you knew going into motherhood that would have like made your life a bunch easier? And I got a bunch of really cool answers. So here we go. Let's jump right into it. Okay, so the first thing is like it's totally normal to be really nervous when you first get home with your new baby as like a first-time mom. Like you don't know what you're doing. This little person now is relying on you for their survival. But I don't mean that to worry you, because another thing to know is like kids are super resilient. A kid will survive a lot of stuff, basically. Like, not that you should intentionally like neglect them or treat them bad or anything like that, but like one mom, for instance, said like if her kid was crying, then she found like it was okay to just like let the kid cry for a minute or two so she could wrap up whatever she was doing, like making a sandwich or whatever she happened to be doing at the time. And then she could go and tend to the baby instead of feeling like she had to jump up at the moment, interrupt exactly what she was doing, you know, or lose her place in whatever she was doing and go and tend to the kid. Like she found that it was okay to just like relaxedly complete the thing she was in the middle of for a minute or two and then go and get her kid. So I thought that was great advice. I probably didn't learn that until my kid was like 8 or 9 months old. And even now it's hard for me sometimes because he starts crying and I want to like handle him right away. And I mean, different parents do things differently. So like whatever works for you is great. But if you're feeling really stressed out about that, just know that like, you know, it's okay to take a breath, take 60 seconds, finish the thing that you're doing, and then like go and tend to your kid. One thing, it totally made me crack up. My friend referred to her kid when her kid was like super newborn as like a helpless sack of potatoes. And I thought that was a really good description because like literally newborns can't even hold up their own heads. Like they can't do anything for themselves. And so it can be really trying as a mom because you have to do everything for this other human, and they go to the bathroom all the time. I mean, sometimes you might change a diaper like 18 times in 24 hours sometimes. So it can be a lot, and especially at the beginning, they are either like drinking formula or breast milk like fairly constantly. So like just keeping them fed and changed is like literally a full-time job. So like it's a lot, but it gets better because the kid becomes more and more capable of doing stuff themselves. They start smiling and interacting with you, and that like shows you that, you know, you're doing the right things and you're on the right track. So for me, one of the things is like, even now I do it occasionally, but like, especially when my kid was a newborn, I was waking up constantly to make sure he was still breathing. And I've heard this from moms time and time again. I don't know what to do about it particularly. It'll happen. So like, you know, you can get one of those like snoozes, or like there's those, you know, those monitors that you can put like on their hand or on their foot or whatever to make sure that like the heartbeat and the oxygen rate and all of that is still good, and it'll alert you if it's not. I never got one of those. I just woke up whenever my body woke me up and I checked on him. So like just know that's totally normal. It doesn't necessarily mean anything weird. It's just a normal thing about being a new mom, is you might wake up a bunch in the middle of the night and check and make sure your kid is still breathing. Another thing is, and this particularly would have been helpful for my husband to know before we had kids, is like crying is a normal manifestation of being a baby. So not that you should just let them sit there and cry, but like it is a normal thing. It's how they communicate. Like, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I need a change, I need to be burped, you know, my stomach hurts, because their guts are so little. And so like even little tiny gas bubbles will make them like totally upset. So sometimes babies are gonna cry. And it doesn't mean that they're like in pain or that like they're going through some sort of like psychic trauma. It just means that like they need something. My husband especially at first would get like really stressed out when our kid would cry. And so it's nice to just know, like, babies cry. And so, you know, you have a list of maybe 5 or 8 things that you check over when they're crying. And, you know, it might just be that, like, they've got some gas in their stomach and they've got to work it out. Another good thing that one of my mom friends said was, like, you don't need to put toys on your baby registry. Like, spend that money on other things that are more useful. Toys are so fun to buy for your kids or to have other people buy for your kids. So I understand putting things on the registry that are toys. However, it is not really necessary. Newborns don't need toys. So you could ask for like extra diapers or wipes or onesies or something like that. If someone wants to get them those things, fine, but they're not necessary. So you don't need to like put them on your registry specifically, especially if money's tight. You can just hold off until later. Also, probably people who have kids that are a little older than your kid is will probably just give you a bunch of like hand-me-down toys, which are awesome. Okay, before we get off the subject of toys, your kid is gonna want to play with like random normal life items, probably more than they're gonna wanna play with toys. My kid likes to play with cups. He likes to play, especially cups that have like a lid that you can twist onto them. He likes to play with my car keys. Anything that has a button on it, a remote control, take the batteries out. It's my kid's favorite toy, right? So like there's all these things that he loves that we already have around our house and that don't cost a bunch of money, and you don't have to spend a bunch of money on toys for your kids. So one of the big things that I really agreed with when I asked this moms group, one woman said, like, you know, she was prepared for all of the hormones to build up during pregnancy, but then she had never been told that like after pregnancy there's this huge hormonal shift that goes on where your hormones like drop drastically. So for a number of weeks you might feel like your emotions are going crazy because all of the hormones that built up when you were pregnant are now coming back down to like your normal life levels. There's also a factor if you decide to breastfeed. Breastfeeding does something different to your hormones as well. So that can be a factor also. So don't be surprised if you feel like really, really emotional for like some weeks after labor and delivery. For me, I think it was about 6 to 8 weeks, and then things started to even out for me. Also, I did placenta encapsulation, which is probably gonna gross out a bunch of people, whatever. I did it, and for me, it really helped increase my mood and improve that like intensely hormonal, emotional thing that I felt. So I loved it. I would do it again in a heartbeat. The next thing I totally agree with, one of my mom friends, she was like, look, your newborn does not need like a strict schedule with like, this is when we do tummy time and this is when we do blah and this is when we read and blah, 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 blah. I mean, like if you want to run your life that way, that's fine. But my friend, when her kid was first born, she was like really stressed out about like, I've got to do this and I've got to do that and it's got to be on a schedule and it's got to be regimented and that's how you get in control of like whatever, right? And when she realized she could just like sort of chill out and relax and like follow the baby's lead a little bit, then she was way less stressed out about it. So again, it's like, it's up to you, but don't feel like you have to like get your newborn immediately like onto some like fantastic sleep schedule or whatever. You can follow the baby's lead. You can nap when the baby naps, if you can. I'm not a daytime napper, so like I was not good at napping when the baby napped. Another thing that's probably gonna get me some like nasty comments is like, one mom said, and I really think this is like super wise advice. She said, you know your baby better than your pediatrician. And I think that that is amazing. I have an excellent pediatrician who really like trusts the parents and really like is supportive of whatever decisions the parents make, but not all pediatricians are that way. You know your kid better than your pediatrician, and ultimately you're responsible for your kid. You know, your pediatrician is not. So That's just like more to like back up moms, not to create a rift between moms and pediatricians, but really just like empowering moms, because especially as new moms, you don't know, and you don't know what you don't know. And so it makes it difficult to really like stand your ground. But you can always get a second opinion. There are resources. I really like, there's a couple of baby books that have like, if your child's fever is such and such degrees, this is what you do. Or if your child has this rash, this is what you do. And I've avoided a number of doctor's appointments, you know, and emergency phone calls to my pediatrician by just having these books and using them as my resources. Okay, so I know my kid's temperature, you know, he's 18 months old and it's only 102. I don't need to call the pediatrician yet. Like, you know, and I think that like mother's intuition is maybe sort of scoffed at sometimes, or maybe not given the full like clout that it should be, you know, by professionals who have probably gotten a little jaded about their jobs and things like that. So for me, I would always err on the side of like going with my gut about these sorts of things. Anyway, that was all the advice that these women had for you guys, and you know, my own additions to those advices. So I hope that this has helped you guys out. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and I'll put another video right up here. So if you guys want to watch another one, and then please click the subscribe button, and don't forget to ring the bell to get notifications.